Welcome to another all-new episode of Cult Movie Tuesdays right here on Night Owl Video. Thank you for tuning in. As you can see behind me, my room is all echoey and empty because I'm getting ready to move, so I don't have the cool backdrop of movies behind me anymore, but that will return once I get settled in my new home. Today we are talking about Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, as you can see in the background. I didn't have anything to put in the background, so I thought maybe that would be cool, but as you can see the computer screen with my notes. But anyway, this is the film we're talking about. 1999's Ghost Dog, written and directed by Jim Jarmusch, one of my personal favorite directors. He's done so many great movies over the years. Down by Law with Tom Waits and Roberto Benigni. Only Lovers Left Alive, Dead Man with Johnny Depp. Like, he's done so many great movies. He's had a few misses there for me, but generally speaking, I love his catalog of films. And this is by far one of my favorite, if not one of my favorite films of all time. And every time I watch this movie, I get really sucked into the world of the ghost dog and the code of the samurai. And I find it really alluring. In fact, after I watched this movie so many times back in the early 2000s, I actually went and bought a copy of the Hagakure, which is the book that's referenced in this film, and the samurai code that Ghost Dog follows, which I'll get into more in a bit. So this film stars Forrest Whitaker, as I mentioned. There's a cool picture of him on the back too with a sword. He's so friggin' cool in this movie. I like Forrest Whitaker anyway as an actor, but in this movie he's such a badass. Like, he's so cool. I rewatched this movie this morning and I was just, it's one of those movies when I put it on, like, I sort of think, I don't think a lot about putting it on, but then when I do, I get sucked right into the world of the ghost dog and the gangsters and everything that's in here. Oh, my DVD player went to sleep. So Forrest Whitaker's in this. He plays the role of Ghost Dog. Forrest Whitaker, you know, from Platoon, Panic Room, Rogue One, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He's been in a lot of movies. And I'm sure there's more famous or well liked movies than the ones I mentioned, but those are the ones I came up with. It also stars John Tormey as a character named Louis, who is, I guess, best known for being a voice actor in video games, and he also appeared in several episodes of Law and Order. And I just, doing my research for this review, discovered that he passed away this past March, so rest in peace, Mr. Tormey. It also stars Henry Silva as Ray Vargo. Henry Silva appeared in a lot, like his filmography is crazy huge, including the original Ocean's 11. He played Kane, the bad guy in the Buck Rogers in the 25th Century 1979 film with Gil Gerard. He was an alligator, Code of Silence, and this is actually his second to last film that he ever made. Although, believe it or not, he is still alive. He's 93 as of this recording. RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan makes a cameo in this film. He also does the soundtrack for the film. This was his first acting role. Then he went on to do Jim Jarmusch's Coffee and Cigarettes, which I would highly recommend. Kind of a minor one in his catalog, but still a very good film. And The Man with the Iron Fist Part 1 and 2. So I had actually started to record this video before, and I was talking about the plot, and the plot is, like, it's not complicated, but it's hard to describe, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So the ghost dog, Forrest Whitaker, is a lone samurai hitman. And he gets hired by Louis to do a job for him. And that job is to take out a mobster who happens to be sleeping with one of the big mobster's daughters. And so there's this kind of complicated back and forth. But anyway, the gangsters, there's like a group of gangsters in the film, Louis being one of them. They decide that, like, Ghost Dog needs to be, what was the word they used? Like, exterminated or eradicated. He needs to be taken out of the picture. But the interesting thing is that the only way Louis and Ghost Dog communicate is through a carrier pigeon. I don't know, sounds strange. Just bear with me. So Ghost Dog has pigeons. He lives on a rooftop of a building. He has a little shack. He's in there with all of his books and his incense, and he's meditating. And then he practices his swordsmanship on the rooftop. And he has a pigeon coop, and the pigeons are like his pets, or he probably sees them more as like friends. But him and Louis communicate through this one pigeon carrier pigeon, sorry. And so they tie notes to the leg of the pigeon, and the pigeon flies back and forth every day and delivers notes between Ghost Dog and Louis. So if Louis has a job for Ghost Dog, he sends a note over on the pigeon saying, this is the job. Ghost Dog goes and does it. And then Louis pays Ghost Dog once a year, the first day of autumn every year. And so Ghost Dog has his ways, right? Like, he's very into the samurai code and the Hagakure, which I mentioned is a book, and it's kind of the way of the samurai. And so he's very meditative, very reflective. He doesn't talk a lot in the film. He doesn't have a lot of lines. So anyway, the mobsters decide like Ghost Dog needs to be taken out. So they send some hitmen over to where Ghost Dog lives. It wasn't really explained how they found out where he lives, but they do find him. Or sorry, they find his pigeon coop. Ghost Dog's not there. They end up killing one other person thinking it's Ghost Dog, along with a bunch of pigeons. Ghost Dog comes home, finds the dead pigeon, and he's upset because he's like, now they're probably coming after me. So he decides he's not going to let that happen. He's going to protect Louis, who he looks at as his master, his samurai master, even though Louis is a gangster. But I think in Ghost Dog's mind, he's like living out this like samurai life kind of thing. And so he's like, I got to take care of the rest of these gangsters before they get me, but I got to take care of Louis. So that's what he does. He goes on like a rampage and takes care of all the gangsters. So I don't want to spoil the end of the film. There's a lot more to this film. Like, I'm just giving you kind of like a brief summary of like kind of what's going on. And you know what I think? I think it's time for some coffee. President's Choice Canadian blend with a little bit of almond milk. My favorite doggo mug. I'll switch up my mugs. I do have like people keep giving me mugs as gifts. I have so many mugs, so maybe I'll try to like swapping them out so it changes up a bit. But so let me see what else I need to tell you. So he Ghost Dog goes and takes care of these gangsters. He leaves Louis alive. And like I said, I don't want to ruin the end in case you haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything about the ending because I think I think hopefully I've piqued your interest enough that you'll go and check out this movie. Ghost Dog also has some side relationships in the film with a person named Raymond, who's a French man who runs an ice cream truck. Ghost Dog doesn't speak French, and Raymond doesn't speak English. So they speak to each other in their languages, but they sort of have this weird like understanding, but they don't understand the words. So that's kind of a cool little thing in their little dynamic. And then he also befriends a young girl named Perline. And Perline is like this young girl who walks around with a lunchbox with a bunch of books in it. Frankenstein and some other books, some other famous books. And she's really into reading and learning about stuff. So she shares the book Rashomon with Ghost Dog. And so that book ends up sort of playing a role in the film because it gets passed down through different characters, which is kind of cool. And then while I was watching it, so those were my notes about the film I made. And then this morning when I was watching it, I made some interesting observations. So when Ghost Dog walks down the street, he kind of walks kind of between people or around people, and it's almost like they don't see him, hence ghost. But the only people that can't see him are like the local hip hop guys that hang out in the park and rap and stuff. They see him and they know his name and they acknowledge him, as well as RZA. So I'm not sure what there are some hints at like racism in this film. There's like definitely I wanted to say also that like that some of the language in this film isn't great now. I mean, it wasn't great then either, but if you're sensitive to like cultural slurs and things like that, you might not like this movie. There is some stuff in it. It's like, I guess, like Quentin Tarantino uses some of that stuff too. So if you don't mind that kind of stuff, um, but in this case, it's white people saying slurs, so it's, I don't know, it sometimes feels kind of uncomfortable to watch, but um, it's also like old gangsters, like probably in their 70s and 80s, saying those words. So I don't know if it's like a generational thing, but it's still, I just wanted to mention that because if that makes you uncomfortable, you might not like that. So yeah, so he moves through the streets, nobody sees him. Um, um, he has like all these cool gadgets. Like he has guns that he keeps in a briefcase, which he carries with him. But he also has this device, like a little black box, like a kind of like about the size of my remote. And this device opens car doors, starts cars. It does all of these things. It's like this weird magical device that he has that does all this stuff. I don't know if that's taken from another movie, but I thought that was kind of cool. He's got a lot of cool gadgets. Um, and then there's some commentary on like death and the passage of time and the changing of ways. So like, we're talking about samurais, which is the old way, as well as like gangsters, which is a little less old, but a lot of the gangsters in this movie follow the older code of the gangsters, and they don't just go around shooting people for no reason. It's like there's a certain respect there that you guys probably know this from like other gangster movies and books. Um, so this is kind of like parallel for me, and that's just my own personal observation that like Ghost Dog follows the way of the samurai, and these gangsters, they want to follow the old ways of the gangsters. And so there's this kind of cool parallel running through the film. I also kind of picked up on this like meditating on death, which is one of the lessons in the Hagakure. Um, that like every day one should meditate on their own death kind of thing. And I kind of picked up on that too a little bit, that there's a scene where some gangsters are talking about that hitman or that gangster being killed earlier in the film, and they were just like talking about his dying, and like it's just like, well, that it happens kind of thing. So it's like almost kind of like their way of meditating on death, but a little less meditative, I guess. So yeah, there's like the changing times. There's like a respect code that's sort of slowly eroding, but these two guys still live by it. That Louis and Ghost Dog. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. Those are just kind of things I picked up on while I was watching it this morning that I thought I'd mention. As far as production goes, this film was made in New Jersey, but that's never spoken of in the film. There's sort of this urban decay going on in the film, which is very, very present, and very noticeable. Um, the film received great reception upon its release. Um, it was nominated for the Palme d'Or in 1999 at the Cannes Film Festival, but it did not win. I didn't look up to see what won that year, but it cost $3.3 million to make, and it made $9.3 million at the box office. So not bad return. Like I mentioned, the soundtrack was done by RZA from the Wu-Tang Clan. I think this might have been his first soundtrack credit, but I didn't double check that. But the soundtracks have been released in Japan and in the U.S. The Japanese version has songs that don't appear on the U.S. release, but I think you can listen to both versions on YouTube. Yeah, and so yeah, there was actually like I did read that some of the critics compared it to a film called Le Samurai by a person named Jean-Pierre Melville. I've never seen that film before, but apparently there are some similarities between that and just reading the synopsis of Le Samurai. I was like, oh, I could see that there's probably some some inspiration there that Jarmusch took from that film. So I'm probably going to try and check that film out. I don't know if it's on Criterion or somewhere, but it sounded kind of interesting. This film is available on YouTube. If you're comfortable doing that, I'm not saying to watch it on YouTube, but it is on there with, I think, Hindi subtitles, but you can watch it on YouTube. I actually didn't look to see where else you can find it, but I'm guessing maybe Tubi again, but or you could probably rent it on YouTube, or you can find it out in the wild like I did on this Artisan DVD from 1999. Just a pure joy film for me. It's one of my favorites. Not only one of my favorite cult movies, but just one of my favorite movies in general. So if you can get your hands on this, if you like slow burn, samurais, gangsters, urban setting, hip hop is all throughout the soundtrack. I did forget to mention that the music is very important to the Ghost Dog, so he always carries some CDs with him, and whenever he steals a car with his little magic black box, he always pops in a CD, and it's always like cool hip hop. He played Willie Williams' Armageddon Time, which I thought was cool. So there's this very urban feel to it. It's like a melting pot of samurai and gangster set in this like urban environment. So if that piques your interest, I think you would probably like it. Forrest Whitaker is so cool in this movie. He's such a badass. He hardly says any lines in the movie, but when he speaks, it's very cool. And I can't say too much great things about this movie. It's just one of my favorites. Yeah, and so special features on this DVD, this version here from 1999, includes a 30-minute featurette, The Odyssey, The Journey into the Life of a Samurai, deleted scenes, which were kind of cool to see. There's a music video, an isolated music score, which is something cool that we don't seem to get on physical media much anymore. It's presented in 16:9 widescreen, 5.1 Dolby digital audio. There's trailers and TV spots, cast and crew information. It's digitally mastered, and yeah, that's about it. Not bad for a DVD that's like 23 years old. But yeah, this is highly recommended. Go check it out. This is put out by Artisan Entertainment. Yeah, Artisan Entertainment. So Ghost Dog 1999. Go check it out. Like I said, it is on YouTube if you feel comfortable streaming it on there. But otherwise, you could probably rent it on some of the other platforms, Amazon or YouTube. So go check this one out. I really liked it. Oh, I see my screen fell asleep again. Boop. Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, 1999, Jim Jarmusch. Go check it out. And I would definitely recommend checking out other Jarmusch films if you like this one, because it's definitely his style, which is kind of slow paced. Only Lovers Left Alive is another one that's got that kind of cool, slow pacing, very methodical. But yeah, oh God. I could probably talk about this movie longer, honestly. One of my favorites. I actually saw this on VHS back in 2000, I guess. My neighbor had... Actually, I watched this and Ronin on the same day. I don't know if that person rented them both, thinking they were both like samurai films or what, but I watched this and Ronin on the same day. So that was a good day. That was a good movie day for me. I don't have Ronin yet, but... So next week, I think I'm going to be doing Streets of Fire, which I mentioned earlier, a couple videos back. So I'm going to talk about that one next Tuesday. And I'm not doing a lot of thrifting, unfortunately, between now and when I move, because I'm trying to save some money for the move. And but you never know, I might find some goodies when I'm out and about between now and then. So we'll see what happens. Please feel free to subscribe, leave a comment if you've seen this film, what you think about it. Or if you have other films you think I might like in this style genre. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and if you're on Instagram, I'm over there at Night Owl Video. And thank you for watching, and I will be back next Tuesday with Streets of Fire, and probably before that with maybe a thrifting haul. So stay tuned, and I'll see you at the video store.